Well, it is the 6th of September, the year 2022. Good morning. How are you? And thank you very much for joining us for the Morning Drift. And of course, it is one of those new dawns for the country as the Supreme Court has now upheld Ruto's win. Most of people are now looking at headlines as seeing the Choice 2022, Decision 2022 still making fresh headlines as one of the most trumpeted headlines this morning. Might run for the next 7 days as we await the swearing in of William Samoei Ruto. My name is Ankey Dorice. Simba, good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you, Ankey. It's a good morning for all the Kenyans, by the way, and most importantly, East Africans as well, because we do know that Kenya is the anchor for the East African economy. We do have a new president in waiting. Nothing now that is going to stop the ceremony that is about to happen on the 13th of September 2022. Indeed, it is Dr. William Samoei Ruto. Ankey, as a lot of things that really did happen all the way up to his declaration as the official president-elect.
Indeed, Simba, like you said it, constitutionally, that is well put in 7 days. That is, of course, like you mentioned, next week on Tuesday, we are seeing, of course, now president-elect and to be William Ruto being sworn into that particular seat. A lot of people saying a boy from Sugoi, son of a peasant, a chicken farmer, arising into presidency. What we must note is that he is the second deputy president in this country to rise to presidency. And did you know that the late Daniel Moi, who was the first to actually, take over presidency after, of course, being in the deputy president, office, was of course now the incoming president's mentor. That is quite something that you will see in the dailies as well. So he is also very historic in whichever capacity as the second deputy president to actually rise into presidency. There's a lot to now talk about. And if you go into the many, many headlines, you will see the story of Ruto taking center stage. But we will look at that also as we delve deeper into the newspaper review shortly. Simba, is it?
That's the way it is. A look at his acceptance speech. What was it? A recognition speech, therefore, that followed immediately after the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, CJ, Martha Koome, isn't it, did then nullify that petition, should I say, the petitions that were challenging the 9th August election. And William Ruto did come in and say that my election as president of the Republic of Kenya is a testament that any other person, anybody from any part of this country can rise from nothing to the top seat in the country, Ankey.
A lot of things now surrounding his win, including President Uhuru Kenyatta coming out to speak for the first time since we actually concluded the general elections. He actually did assure Kenyans of a smooth transition of power. However, Simba, you will pick that from the president or outgoing president's speech, he did not directly congratulate the incoming president. That is what I picked. And he also did not really mention his name, directly congratulate him. He did not actually, call his name out like you have been doing in studio. So quite a lot of things that have been seen and observed since the Supreme Court upheld Ruto's win. We have also seen that Ruto came out in what we are calling trying to heal a divided nation, saying he is going to reach out. He actually did reach out to his opposition, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, who he also said vividly they haven't spoken for months. So we're looking at a lot of things now taking in, as Kenyans are trying to heal. And a lot of Kenyans are pretty much calm, saying, let us respect the institutions that are, as far as we are concerned, actually midwife leaders as far as transition is concerned. So we're looking at a peaceful nation as at this morning, and we're also hoping for the same atmosphere as we continue. Simba, we're going to take a short breather, but I know that it's very exciting what's happening on the dailies. I cannot wait to hear your own opinions. I have missed to hear that, including what Kenyans are now saying in response to what the Supreme Court has come out with as a final verdict and judgment.
Pretty much. Now, you do know that you can actually be part of this broadcast at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. We shall be giving you our WhatsApp lines as well, so you can get to write directly into the studio as well. I am at Kiage Simba, Ankey.
Yes, we'll take a short breather. We'll be right back with the newspaper review. All right, welcome back. This is The Morning Drift and you're watching Look Up TV. Please be part of the conversation as we look at the newspaper review right now. What are your thoughts of each of these headlines that we're about to dig deeper into? And of course, I am having the Standard here. Simba, it's very interesting what's going on the Standard, but most probably we did expect that this is what the newspapers would look like today. And taking center stage is Mr. President as the headline. Mr. President, quite vivid, and of course seeing there a picture of Ruto giving his address as, you know, a relief for him after the Supreme Court's verdict, and reading what is called a historic moment there. It reads, on the day his victory was affirmed by the highest court in the land, President-elect William Ruto set out to heal a divided nation, reaching out to his chief opponent Raila Odinga and retiring President Kenyatta, who last night promised a smooth transition. And from a chicken seller, that's what they say on the Standard, they had to highlight that, from a chicken seller to the hallowed presence of State House. It did not come easy. Beyond the rhetoric, however, the hard part begins. And I can tell you, Simba, his story is on several pages. I would not even count them. It has taken the entire newspaper, but that's basically what is, of course, highlighted here. As we check and compare the Daily Nation, I will come in later to also give you what exactly is quoted as part of his speech and what they highlighted. But of course, that is the center and of course the headline and top of this particular newspaper, The Standard. Simba, what's on the Daily Nation? As
it is now, let's cross over to the Daily Nation. As you walk to your newspaper stand this morning, you're going to meet this. William S. Ruto. Of course, the S then stands for Samuel Ruto. Is a name that we have to get used to now for the next 5 years. In fact, there's a doctor somewhere in this headline as well. Just interesting, just 3 words really. William S. Ruto. Then they continue by saying, confirmed the 5th president and incoming commander-in-chief of the Kenya Defense Forces. And just that is everything that you need to know about the Daily Nation on their front page. And as well, Ankey, the same thing you're saying all the way up to around page 20-something. It's just gonna be, actually up to page 14, just gonna be about William Ruto and his rise to the highest seat in the Republic of Kenya.
It's very important, Simba, to just highlight some of the, remarks that were really standing out in his address. And of course, he said, I salute, and I'm quoting really, I salute the judges of the Supreme Court who have performed their duty with utmost fidelity to the Constitution. That's Ruto's words, saying they listened to all parties, considered all the issues, applied the law, and demonstrated their learning impartially. And patriotism. That is, of course, the president-elect words in his address after Supreme Court, of course, upheld his win. He's also saying, I extend a hand of brotherhood to all my competitors and to all their supporters, adding that we are not enemies. We are Kenyans. Let us unite to make Kenya a nation everyone shall be proud to call home. Isn't that something? He said, let us call it home. He's actually here as the father of the nation. Now, we are actually seeing his speech quite sober, Simba, and like the headlines are saying in the Standard, he's trying to now heal what they are terming a divided nation. But we continue to check in, but the Supreme Court has dismissed cases challenging Ruto's win. Pretty much, that's what we're looking at, and now we're seeing the judges being profiled on this daily, of course, the dailies. Now, people are actually having to understand who was Martha Koome, in what position, what did they say, and we'll be looking at those issues as we look at what is trending. But what I'm seeing on page 1, 2, 3 is basically the Supreme Court and the battle and the lawyers that were in it, and finally what they actually brought out as their judgment, final judgment, and that is the 7th bench in the Apex Court.
Interesting. The Daily Nation is also looking at the incoming vice president, that is Rigathi Gachagua. Now listen to this, that criticized as unrefined,
yes,
is now a heartbeat away from presidency. Imagine that, Ankey. And then they go all the way into that story on page 5 of the Daily Nation. Now, it's interesting, really, because, Ankey, if you listen to that ruling yesterday by the Supreme Court that was given to us by CJ, Martha Koome, there were areas that they stressed on really interesting, really, read this morning, and
yes.
I'll give you just an overview of that. They called the evidence that was presented by the main petitioner, that is Martha Karua and Raila Amolo Odinga, as, number 1, hotel, wild goose chase. They went in and say red herring, which is essentially something that is supposed to make you think that something's going to happen, but it doesn't. We go on. There's perjury.
Because, Simba, I do realize that there are apparently 9 facts in issue. Now, the 9 facts in issue, and like you've said, the Supreme Court bench, of course, 7 judges, pretty much dismissed all of them. All right, and you look at it further as we go into what's trending, but there were 9 facts in issue, and there's a lot of, consultations. Even when they got to retreat, come back with the judgment, there was an entire transparent process, even with the judiciary. And Simba, what we have to also note is that it's quite a relief now for IEBC chairperson, some would call it the election agency,
yes,
the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, as the Supreme Court has vividly come out and vindicated him and his team. It was quite a difficult time for Wafula Chebukati, and we're seeing that we cannot really miss to mention that this is quite a relief for him as well from that particular verdict. But on page 15 and 14 of the Standard as well, Simba, it's just the celebratory mood that is cut across the country. You saw people celebrating in Sugoi. I've seen photos of Kakamega town after the Supreme Court verdict. We're seeing lawyers Kamau Karori. It's pretty much that moment. We saw celebrations also in Nairobi. Supporters of President-elect celebrated in Nakuru City. So if you go to page 14 and 15, beautiful pictures of pomp and color, laughter and hugs, now taking center stage right there in the Standard. So really, it's that moment for the country as we are, of course, waking up to a new dawn, and we are waiting his swearing in 7 days. I really think that's pretty it at the heart of the daily, the newspaper this morning that I am holding. Simba, do you have anything else, especially in business?
Nothing much, but Ankey, his work is already cut out. That's the way I'm going to end it. The honeymoon out already. In fact, Ankey, on the eve, or in fact, on 12 midnight of 13th of this month, isn't it? EPRA reviews fuel prices, and we do know exactly what we'll be running on under Uhuru Kenyatta's government. Subsidies, unga subsidy done, inflation at the highest. Guess what, Ankey? Let me step into the office so that it can solve issues for this country. That's what I would say. We take a short break here on the morning brief. Once we come back, I'll be taking you all the way to the newsroom where we get to talk about the biggest headlines that you're waking up to this morning.
Badilisha maisha yako na kuachua chapa. Jishindie shilingi 1,150 pesa taslimu kila siku kupitia vipindi maarufu uvipendavyo katika runinga ya Look Up TV. Maelekezo ili ukaweze kuwa mshindi ni rahisi sana. Kwa simu yako ya mkononi, ingia kwenye M-Pesa. Elekea kwa Paybill, weka nambari 636395. Kwa account name andika neno Look. Kisha kwa amount, uweka shilingi 99 au 99 shillings. Kwa M-Pesa Paybill, uweka nambari 636395. Account name andika Look. Amount, uweka shilingi 99 au 99 bob peke yake. Kumbuka, unavyocheza mara nyingi ndivyo unavyoongeza nafasi zako za kuwa mshindi. Unasubiri nini? Badilisha maisha yako leo na kuachua chapa. Mchezo huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB na ambao hawajafikisha miaka 18 hawajaruhusiwa kucheza. Cheza kwa kuwajibika.
All right, this is the Morning Drift, and of course, the most trumpeted headlines this morning are definitely political. Most Kenyans going out there to applaud the Supreme Court and, of course, congratulating the president-elect, now confirmed and official, the fifth president-elect, William Samoei Ruto, who is awaiting the swearing in constitutionally in 7 days. And Simba Kenyans have taken to social media different reactions here and there. Different hashtags are also trending, and we want to take a look at that particular segment now, what's trending this morning. But Simba, question would be, what next for Raila Odinga?
That's it, isn't it? Because I've seen Raila Odinga trending as well this morning, even as we start on that. Because then you got a question then, what his next political career is gonna look like? I mean, when you look at him, Ankey, here's the thing.
Yes.
This is a personal view, guys. Whatever you're about to hear is not the views that are shared by Lookup TV, but personal views by Simba Kiage. Anyway, let's put it like this. Ankey, you gotta give him. He's a statesman. You can't deny that fact. I mean, if you look at some of the things that we're talking about today, even the way IEBC ran this election, by the way, Ankey, it's down to what Raila Odinga's petitions in this election, in the elections that he's participated in, really have become. Because if we go back to 2017, IEBC just went and ticked all the boxes under that ruling and then said, this is exactly what we're going to do. And if you looked at how the judges were talking about, they were saying in 2017, the court ruled on this. And who did then challenge the elections in 2017 and 2013? Raila Odinga back again in 2002. I mean, 2007 as well. I mean, you really got to look at him and then say, you've been quite instrumental. Look at the new constitution that we're talking about, Ankey. Issues like BBI, by the way, which again are going to be replicated by Ruto in terms of then awarding his main power team, that is Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. I mean, when you look at what Raila Odinga has done, you will say, yes, indeed, you've been quite instrumental to the way that this country runs. But then, what next? Ankey, would you advise him to take a back seat and hand over opposition to somebody who wants 2 careers into the next 5 years, or be active?
You see, sitting among Kenyans a few days ago and even up to yesterday, what I heard is Raila Odinga is very powerful in opposition. And remember, opposition is also very vital when it comes to politics and governance. So I do agree with you that he has been instrumental. Yes, that I give him. But in the opposition, Simba, he has tried, he has attempted to rise to presidency. It is always the same, like you have said, pattern, all right? Now, if you go to political analysts today, they will tell you that this was his best bet yet. This was Raila Odinga's best bet yet, according to very key political analysts. I'm not sure at this point in time, however, what approach I would give if I were Raila Odinga. He would come out and speak to us perhaps then, but taking over the opposition, he's still good at it, but does he have the strength to continue?
That's interesting, isn't it? Let me just read for you a beautiful quote that I've seen from one Onyang Diede on Twitter. Hashtag is an underscore, sorry, at Okello. So you wonder, is it Okello or Onyang? Anyway, let's continue. It's like, it's never lost until it is lost. Your greatest undoing was to step into the murky fields of African politics with sandals of integrity. We're so good in your presidency, and history will absolve us. We do accept defeat. Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. I mean, it doesn't get better than that, because indeed, and the thing I like about this decision, Ankey, this also shows how far we as a democracy have come.
Yes, most people would call it, we are democratically mature. Kenya is growing every single day. The democracy and the maturity that's coming with it, you can see it even within the electorates and among the citizens. We are becoming more mature by the day, every other time we get into the elections. So, and I like when he says we accept defeat. I mean, it sounds deeper than saying we concede, you know?
Yeah, by the way,
accept defeat.
If you listen to Mother Karua and Raila Odinga speak yesterday, we did see the statements. And by the way, Mother Karua also did correct the Standard Media when they just clipped it at just accepting. Here's the thing, let's put aside that Raila Odinga has said he accepts the verdict of the Supreme Court of Kenya on the presidential election, but doesn't agree with it. It stands there that I do accept, meaning indeed, yes, move on. But whatever findings that you do have on the table, I do not agree with them. Interesting as well when you look at the communique from Mother Karua and Raila Malodeka.
Quite civic of him, and of course we're looking at the country staying intact together and of course in unity. And you know, President Uhuru Kenyatta, when he spoke, he said we will of course continue to respect the institution, and that he said that when he took over power, he actually vowed to respect the institutions. And of course, I'll pick this by Stephen Mutoro, saying that's one of the tweets of course, what's trending now on the Kenya Decides 2022. You do realize that we have come back to what we were on the 9th August, the Kenya Decides 2022, Choice 2022 hashtags. And he's saying William Ruto, the man whose name will remain in history for a long time to come for destroying dynasties. That's what he says, from Kenyatta, Moi to Odinga. Now, according to Stephen, these dynasties are gone. And if I continue to read that tweet, he says, it will take more than a miracle to have the names back in our politics. Freedom has truly come.
That's it. Isn't it? Since we're talking about that, let's talk about Uhuru Kenyatta as well, because it's quite trending. Ankey, when you listen to his speech yesterday, he did not directly congratulate Dr. William Ruto for his victory. What he said is that I congratulate all those who won in the 9th August general election.
Exactly.
When you look at it, that is him saying, well, I'm not really going to talk about William S. Ruto, no, because it's known, indeed, the relationship between those two individuals. I'm just going to congratulate everybody. And then he said, I will make sure that there's a smooth transition of power. Beautiful. Let me just read one tweet from one of the guys who are talking about it, Nzioka Waita. He's saying, to our 4th president, Uhuru Kenyatta, I salute you, sir. Many may never know the sacrifices that you've made for the sake of unity in our country. Thank you for steering this nation peacefully for 10 years, and thank you for having given me the opportunity to serve the people of Kenya. That is Nzioka Waita. MGH definitely is working with Uhuru Kenyatta. Beautiful as well. When you look at it, it starts there and ends there. How's that?
And really, when you were talking about President Uhuru Kenyatta giving his first speech, of course, since the August 9th polls, I hope Kenyans have noted that he was quiet, you know, for a reason. He actually came out to speak after the verdict. I think he didn't want to be in the midst of all this. And I actually want to applaud him personally for being wise through that time. And of course, speaking the first time since the 9th polls, he said yesterday at the State House, of course, assuring Kenyans also of a smooth transition of power. And he also went further and urged Kenyans to, of course, respect the institutions. That midwife, that's the word he used, the new leaders, and urged citizens. And I like that he did that. He urged the citizens to constantly put the newly elected people and the leaders under scrutiny, for it's a civic duty of every single Kenyan. And that's the power of the citizen, the private citizen, to continuously scrutinize what then the new president and the incoming commander-in-chief will be doing. And the question is, who is going to be in the opposition? Will Raila Odinga take up that?
That's the question. But then, Ankey, let's end like this in the next 5 seconds. There's a question that he asked yesterday. We must ask ourselves, though, is it about numbers or is it about the process? Can our institutions rule one way in one election and another way in another election without scrutiny? A question for us to digest from the just about to be outgoing President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the 4th President of the Republic of Kenya. Ankey.
I want to first congratulate all Kenyans for following closely. This was the most followed elections by Kenyans. You could hear them speak in matatus, on the roads. And somebody once challenged me. He was from the United Kingdom. He said, well, sometimes you have to give it to Kenyans because in Kenya, even a border rider understands and knows names of people in parliament. So I give that to Kenyans. Let's keep empowering each other. We come in with the news bulletin from the newsroom shortly on what has been developing across the country. Don't go too far away. This is The Morning Drift.
Hi there, my name is George Washuri. I am so happy to see you, and today I am here to enumerate, to explain how we package our land investment. We have 5 levels of our property, and we classify these levels as 1 star, 2 stars, 3 star, 4 star, and 5 star. This is what we mean, that if you buy a property that is 1 star with Optiven, one of the things that is evident, the property is cheaper, is below $500,000. And this particular property is basically bare land. We only do subdivision, put the beacons, and then produce titles. The second level, we call it 2 star. This is prime land, whereby we grade the roads, we put a marking fence, do the beacons, and produce titles. The third level, we call it 3 stars. This 3 star is value added plots. We do the malam, we do the water, we do the mesh fence, and there's a caretaker on site. The fourth level is 4 star. 4 star is ready to build development. We do very nice maram roads, we plant the trees, we put the water tower, we also put a caretaker on site, and finally, the 5 star. The 5 star is premier, it's the top level, and this one, we do cable roads, we do water management through underground culverts, we do underground power, we do fountain for water, we do beautiful and nice permanent gates, we do perimeter wall, and also do install the CCTV, and the whole property is manned by uniformed security. Some of these properties, these 5-star properties, we do a clubhouse and also construct swimming pool. Thank you once more for trusting Optiven. We value you. We are at Absa Plaza, 14th floor and 15th floor. God bless you.
Raundi hii Loto iko ground kuimarisha maisha na zawadi chungu nzima. Kuwa miongoni mwa washindi na uimarike leo. Shinda $500,000 guaranteed daily, cash vouchers, unga wa kila siku na zawadi chungu nzima. Kila Jumamosi chomoka na a brand new Pro Box na mega cash kuanzia shilingi $500,000 hadi shilingi $100,000. Ingia kwa M-Pesa, weka paybill number 77700, account name Luke. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 na shilingi 1,000, ujiimarishe na Loto.
Changamka, cheza Loto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Africa. Our economy has a bit. It never stops, always beating. Our business, the next global economic frontier. Let's talk African business.
Welcome back. You are watching the Morning Drift. This is exactly what we have prepared for you as far as the biggest news headlines are concerned this morning. Now, immediately yesterday, after the Supreme Court made a ruling on the 9th August general elections petitions, soon to be outgoing President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, came out to congratulate all those who had won in the 9th general elections and also confirmed that the country would experience a smooth transition into the next government.
Fellow Kenyans, on the 9th of August of 2022, Kenyans participated in an election that ushered in new leaders at all levels of our governance realm. Following a dispute in the presidential election, a petition was filed in our Supreme Court for determination of validity of the results, and the Supreme Court has today pronounced itself on this matter. When I was sworn in as your president, I made a pledge to the country, a pledge to uphold the rule of law and the decisions made by the judiciary on all matters appertaining to our governance. Today, the Supreme Court made a ruling on the presidential dispute, upholding the results announced by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on the 15th of August, 2022. And in keeping to the pledge that I made to uphold the rule of law when I took the oath of office, I commit to executing the orders of this court to the letter. The process of handing over is in progress through the Assumption of Office Committee, which actually has already begun its work as of August 10th, 2022. And indeed, it is my intention to oversee a smooth transition to the next administration, and all the necessary orders to facilitate this process have already been issued.
The Supreme Court has determined that the President-elect William Ruto attained 50+1 votes as stipulated in the Constitution. Speaking at the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, stated that the court was satisfied by the rounding of the IEBC, stating that petitioners Raila Odinga and Martha Karua failed to produce enough evidence. Shatra Kareria reports.
It all began at the Supreme Court when the 7 judges of the Apex Court sat on the bench.
And E008 of 2022.
The Chief Justice Martha Koome declared that the President-elect William Ruto attained the 50+1 vote threshold as required by the law.
We find that it is, as such, on the basis of the foregoing formula and from the numbers provided by IEBC and the chairperson and the declaration by the chairperson of the President-elect on 15th August 2022, it is our finding that the declared President-elect attained 50%+1 of all the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution.
Martha Koome further stated that the court was pleased by the rounding off technique applied by the IEBC Commission to reach out the figures.
We are not persuaded by amicus curiae's brief, that is Law Society, who attempted to persuade us to consider our position on this finding. We reiterate that rejected votes cannot be taken into account when calculating whether a presidential candidate attained 50%+1 of the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution.
The petitioners Raila Odinga and Martha Karua disputed the victory of Ruto, basing their evidence on the number of registered voters and the voter turnout, the court stating that Kim's kits were accurate to give the correct number of voters.
IEBC and its chairperson disputed the sixth petitioner's claim. They submitted that the declaration of results is based on the number of people identified as having voted on the Kim's kits and not the total persons on the voters register as arranged. They contended that the final voter turnout comprising of the voters who were identified through the Kim's kits and those who voted manually was 64.76% and not 65.4% as arranged by the petitioners.
The Apex Court stated that the petitioners did not provide watertight evidence to show that none of the candidates met 50+1 requirement.
When the evidential burden shifted to IEBC and its chairperson, as it does in election cases, they produced video evidence correcting the percentage voter turnout to read 64.6 at the time of the briefing.
Shadrach Kareria, Look Up TV.
The Supreme Court has dismissed claims from Azimio leader Raila Odinga that the technology used in the August election was compromised. In a unanimous decision delivered on Monday, the Apex Court said IEBC employed the use of technology in a total compliance with the law, and the assertions that such was interfered with are not backed by sufficient evidence. And as a reporter Henry Tende now files, the Supreme Court also dismissed claims placing foreign IEBC contractee Jose Camargo on the center of messing with the technology.
Thank you. Madam Chief Justice, if you may allow me.
As the Supreme Court convened to deliver verdict in a presidential election filed by Azimio leader Raila Odinga, one of the key issues before it for determination was whether the technology was compromised or used as prescribed in the law. Raila Odinga legal team maintaining the technology was infiltrated by one Jose Camargo.
This is on the 9th of August, and at the top left-hand corner there is the name of one of the Venezuelans, Jose Camargo. This is the person who decided the president-elect of the country.
But in its sharp-cutting verdict, the Supreme Court has dismissed these allegations, insisting Raila Odinga has not presented any evidence to show that the technology was compromised.
Not persuaded by the allegation that the technology deployed by IEBC failed the standard of Article 86A of the Constitution on integrity, verifiability, security, and transparency.
The Supreme Court also dismissing claims that the named foreigner Jose Camargo gained access to Forms 34As and changed the content therein to alter results in favor of President-elect William Ruto.
No credible evidence was presented to prove that anyone accessed the RTS to intercept, detain, or store Forms 34A temporarily before they were uploaded to the public portal.
In their submissions, Raila Odinga legal team had claimed the results in Forms 34As as contained in the IEBC electronic portal greatly differed with what was in the original physical Forms 34As issued to party agents. These claims, however, were dismissed by the court, insisting IEBC had proved beyond doubt that the results tallied.
No admissible evidence was presented to prove the allegation that Forms 34A were fraudulently altered by a group situated in Karen under the direction of persons named in the affidavit and video clip attached to it. As a matter of fact, these two affidavits amount to double hearsay and incapable of being proved at each of the rears.
This decision being supported by the scrutiny of 41 contestant polling stations whose results matched what IEBC had declared.
The registrar's report shows that the original forms 34A from the contestant polling stations, which were allegedly intercepted, were exactly the same as those on the public portal and the certified copies that were presented to this court.
In the end, the court arrived at a unanimous decision that IEBC used technology in strict compliance with the law and that there was no infiltration, as alluded to by Raila Odinga's legal team. The court has pronounced itself on the issue of technology and categorically said, based on evidence placed before it, there was no interference in the results transmission system of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. This in essence means Dr. William Samoei Ruto was validly elected as the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. Henry Tende, Look Up TV, Milimani Courts, Nairobi.
Henry Tende. The Supreme Court judges delivered a judgment on the 9 pertinent issues raised by presidential contender Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua. Now, part of the issues raised by the petitioner centered around the split between IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati and vice chairperson Juliana Chabrera, who sided with 3 other commissioners, including Justice Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi, and Irene Masit. In the ruling, Chief Justice Martha Koome noted that Chebukati did not have superpowers to tally and verify the results, excluding the 4 commissioners.
On Monday, a 7-judge bench ruled that a walkout by 4 IEBC commissioners moments before the declaration of the presidential election results did not put to question the validity of the 2022 general election. In a ruling read out by Chief Justice Martha Koome, the bench concluded that the 4 commissioners, Juliana Cherera, Justice Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi, and Irene Masit, failed to provide evidence that the results declared by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati would have ultimately differed.
That said, we, however, take cognizance of the fact that the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th respondents, referred to as the 4 commissioners, actively participated in the verification and tallying exercise from the beginning up to and until just before the declaration of the results by the chairperson. They took turns announcing the results as verified and tallied, and were present and active during the actual verification and tallying at Bomas. An example is when one of them, Justice Nyang'aya, stood on the podium to announce to the public results and also announced an adjustment that had been occasioned by errors of tabulation.
According to the Koome-led judiciary, the last-minute walkout was inconsequential to the validity of the process, considering the fact that the 4 commissioners were involved in the process from the beginning. Although
they illustrated that the first respondent garnered 7.176141 votes against 14,213,137 total valid votes cast, yielding a percentage of 50.49 to meet the requisite constitutional threshold for a candidate to be declared president-elect.
The Commission's chairman cannot exercise veto power in the verification and declaration of results. The Chief Justice noted that in the 2022 election, the 4 commissioners were sufficiently involved in the verification process.
As they made their political choices pursuant to Article 38 of the Constitution. To do this would be tantamount to subjecting the sovereign will of the Kenyan people to the quorum antics of IEBC. This we cannot do. Clearly, the current dysfunctionality at the Commission impugns the state of its corporate governance, but does not affect the conduct of the 2022 election. In view of the foregoing, we are satisfied that notwithstanding the divisions apparent between the chairperson and the 4 commissioners, IEBC carried out the verification, tallying, and declaration of results in accordance with Article 138(3)(c) and 10 of the Constitution.
The differences that rocked the commission and played out publicly, according to the Apex Court, did not prevent the results from being declared in accordance with Article 138(3)(c) and 10 of the Kenyan Constitution. Brian Amuai, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Well, upholding the election of William Ruto as Kenya's fifth president, the seven-judge bench led by Chief Justice Martha Koome vindicated IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati on claims from the first respondent that the postponement of elections in various parts of the country caused voter apathy and suppression. Ian Ketani files the following report.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, while reading out the judgment on the presidential election petition on behalf of the seven-judge bench, absolved IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati from any blame, saying that he was well within his rights in postponing elections in different parts of the country.
We are therefore satisfied that on the basis of the foregoing provision, the third respondent and the requisite power to postpone election in the constituencies, counties and wards in question. As regards this allegation, it has not been shown that by postponing elections in the named electoral units, IEBC acted in bad faith or was influenced by irrelevant factors and considerations. From the explanation tendered, we are satisfied that the postponement was occasioned by a genuine mistake.
Koome further stated that the postponement of elections did not result in voter apathy and suppression in those regions, insisting that if at all it did, then all elective positions were affected by the low voter turnout.
From the evidence on record, however, it appears to us that 2022 general election recorded one of the lowest turnouts since the introduction of multi-party political system some 30 years ago. If there was a low voter turnout, it affected all the 6 categories of candidates, and its explanation, in our view, lies elsewhere, but certainly not a calculated suppression.
According to Raila Odinga's affidavit, the postponement of elections in those areas caused voter suppression, as most of his supporters did not turn out to vote in what he termed as his traditional political bedrock, casting doubts as to why the elections were suspended by the IEBC chairperson. The Chief Justice further added that it was clear that the postponement was caused by a massive mix-up of ballot papers, which could not be rectified on time as it was already too late to procure new ballot papers, calling out the IEBC officers for not being keen enough during the procurement process.
It is common knowledge that IEBC postponed elections for various seats during the general elections of 9th August 2022 due to mix-up of ballot papers in the above-named electoral units. They, however, admitted that they experienced confusion with the printed ballot papers and explained that they only discovered the mix-up on the eve of the election when the ballot papers were being distributed to the polling stations. That as a practice, ballot papers can only be opened on the eve of the election day to avoid any mischief, and that by the time the mix-up was discovered, it was logistically impossible to print and replace the ballot papers in time for the elections.
Ian Kitani, Look Up TV.
William Ruto have celebrated the Supreme Court ruling on upholding his win on the August 8th general election and dismissing the petition by Raila Odinga challenging his win. The supporters from different parts of the country took to the streets to celebrate the verdict. Edwin John Makara with that story.
These were the scenes at Sugoi in Uasin Gishu County after the Supreme Court ruling that upheld President-elect William Ruto's win. Residents unable to hide their joy as one of them ascends to be the 5th president of Kenya. It was dance and joy in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
William Samoei Ruto, tunashukuru Mungu pamoja, lakini uwe president bila upaguzi juu. Tunakujua na tunakuelewa vizuri. Wewe ni mtu mja Mungu, wewe ni mtu wa kusamehe. Wasamehe wale wote walikukosea ili nchi yetu ipate twende pamoja.
In Bungoma and Kakamega counties, supporters also took to the streets to celebrate the win.
Ndani ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo, Mr. William Ruto, tumekupatia kiboko yetu na big support, Mr. Wetangula na Musalia Mudavadi. Kenya iende mbele na Mr. William Ruto.
And this is how Embu and Meru celebrated. The joy in Kajiado was evident. Supporters from Kisii County were not left behind. From the coast, this is how Kilifi County celebrated. Edwin John Mokora, Look Up TV.
Indeed, congratulations are in order for Dr. William Ruto. As the presidential candidate, Raila Odinga's legal team has said that they accept but do not agree with the decision of the Supreme Court. While speaking to the press, led by Siaya Governor James Orengo, the lawyer said that the 7-judge bench did not rule in just a way. Mark Duarte with more.
A few minutes after the court upheld William Ruto's victory, Raila Odinga, a battery of lawyers who had filed a petition challenging Ruto's victory, questioned some of the judgment made by the Supreme Court today. Speaking to the members of the press, the lawyers led by James Orengo said that they did not agree with the decision, but all in all, they had to respect it.
I will say we accept the decision, but we do not agree with it. And I'm saying this as a seasoned practitioner that courts sometimes make mistakes which have to be corrected over time.
They further added that the IEBC body was not rightful to conduct the election at all, citing that even the technology that was used was still in questions.
As you know, and I am saying this again without fear of contradiction, we wanted a comprehensive audit of not only the technology that was applied by the Electoral Commission, but we wanted a proper audit.
The senior counsel also added that the fact there were some 3 Venezuelans who could easily access the IEBC servers and even monitor from far was enough evidence of the irregularities in the commission.
Looking at the issue of the foreign intruders, the Venezuelans, which you notice the court avoided in making any comment about those intrusions and invasions of the system, the technology, the IT structure, that again the court did not refer to, but probably in the judgment, the recent judgment that is coming on the 21st, they will say something about it.
On his part, lawyer Philip Morgor said that it was sad to see all petitions tabled by the team were rubbed off, adding that the court could have even taken more time to even open the IEBC servers in line with the evidence.
As somebody has said, it's incredible that we could lose on all points and they could win on all points. That report was completely silent on the failure to open the servers. The servers, repeat, the servers have all the answers. The exact role, we provided evidence that the Venezuelans were downloading documents, creating documents, and generating documents. None of that was touched. But as my colleague says, we hope they'll address all this in the final judgment.
The issue of Jose Camargo's name on the Form 34A, according to the senior counsel Philip Morgol, remains a riddle to him, saying that it needed more attention and even deeper scrutiny.
That gentleman, Camargo's name was not supposed to be on Form 34A. If at all he was involved in this election, he was involved on the technology side. So to find it anywhere near a Form 34A raised more questions than answers. There was silence.
Ankey Dorice, Look Up TV.
The Supreme Court of Kenya has upheld William Samoei Ruto's victory as the president-elect in a petition challenging his win by Azimio flag bearer Raila Odinga. We sought Kenyans' reactions on their expectations now that William Ruto has been endorsed by the Supreme Court as a president-elect. Here is Moses Okech with the Opinion Matters.
On Your Opinion Matters today, we ask Kenyans what is their message to the President-elect William Samoei Ruto as well as the Azimio leader Raila Odinga. This is what they had to say.
As for me, kwa Ruto, it's through God's hand. Kasi God, tungekuwa na Ruto. And for Raila, to take heart at least, it was fair.
Ningeambia Ruto ya kwamba Mungu alikuwa amemchagua. Juu enyewe mimi nilikuwa mmoja ya watu wa Kenya Kwanza. Sasa venye tumeshinda hivyo nimefurahia.
Mimi ningependa sana kushukuru kwa sababu wakati ule tulipiga kura tukaona kulikuwa na amani, na wakati huu vile wamechagua president, tafadhali wa Kenya vile wamechagua president elect, kile ninaomba amani, tusiwe watu wa kupigana kwa ajili ya president mwenye amechaguliwa.
Ingaje siku kumpigia kura, lakini ajaribu tu awezavyo afanye jinsi aliambia wananchi wakati wa campaign.
Ni ile tu kama wanapotapota tuangalie sana, sababu Wakenya wameumia sana kusema ukweli. Na ukiangalia hasa sekta ya potapota walikuwa wameongeza tax, imekuwa juu sana. Sasa hapo mahali aangalie sana.
2017 tukarudia kapiga kura, ndio nimepiga 2022, lakini haijawezekana. Lakini kwa hayo yote aidha Mungu hakupanga, lakini unaona tumetulia, tumechukulia venye iko.
Amejaribu mara 5 na hii ni wakati wake akubali wa uchaguzi wa William Ruto. Congratulate the new elected president. Ndio maisha iendelee.
Ningemtakizia mzee la heri akatulize nia kulingana na matokeo yametokea, kulingana venye kumekuwa.
Kitu cha kwanza ni kushukuru na kuweza kumwambia Mungu asante kwa sababu amependa nchi hii kuweza kuleta utulivu.
#Peace Prevail. Those are some of the feedbacks that we receive from Kenyans on Your Opinion Matters. My name is Moses Okech.
Moses Okech. A few hours before, the 7-judge bench led by Chief Justice Martha Koome issued its verdict on the case challenging the victory of President-elect William Ruto. The National Police Service had tightened its grip on security around the Milimani Law Courts. Let's take a look at the activities during and after the verdict.
This is how the situation was around Milimani Law Courts. Blue color dotting every road heading to the courts. Police officers coming out in full force, ready to ensure that security is maintained during the entire process of reading the final verdict. No vehicles could pass the barriers mounted by the National Police Service. Pedestrians were also redirected as a way of decongesting the area. According to a memo issued to the public, the National Police Service notified Kenyans that Ngong Road will be closed at the intersection of Ngong Road First Avenue. Cathedral Road will also be closed at the intersection with Kenyatta Avenue. Haile Selassie Road heading to Cathedral will also be closed, and drivers were required to find alternative routes to the Nairobi Central Business District. However, there were no security threats witnessed during the entire process.
The closure of roads leading to the Milimani Law Courts here in Nairobi is a strategy by the National Police Service of ensuring security is tightened during the entire process of the issuance of the final verdict by the 7-judge benches concerning the case challenging William Samoei Ruto's victory as president-elect. Sami Adika, Look Up TV.
A report by Sami Adika on the events of the before and after the upholding of Samoei Ruto, as the president-elect by ends the bulletin this morning. In as much as we are concerned, well, fine. All right, we cross off. We take a short break, but Ankey Dorice, but we'll be back with the next part of the morning drift. Good morning.
Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Maki Wambogo, Sales Manager of Real Estate, and I'm here at our head office, Absa Towers, located at Rochester Street. Today I'm here to talk about our newest project, that is Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, and it is located only 10 minutes drive from Cedar Mall. And in this project, we have proposed that we will be having a GMC entertainment center,